Fake inspections, real license plates. You're about to see undercover videos and state records raising questions about whether millions of cars on Texas roads never passed an emissions or safety test. But those cars are getting real Texas plates through what some law enforcement officials describe as massive fraud.
You believe these fake inspections are happening all day, every hour?
Right now. Right now.
Small inspection stations taking cash under the table in exchange for passing cars they've never even seen, potentially exposing you to dangerous vehicles on our highways.
It's not fair that I lost my 2 kids.
NBC5 Investigates revealed how a state system has opened the gates for fake inspections to happen again and again.
It makes no sense to me.
The state of Texas is allowing this.
Now, in the wake of our reporting, the state is promising action, launching a crackdown and making arrests.
We've had multiple inspections being done there this morning, and the bay doors are closed.
As we press for answers on how a system designed to protect you has spun out of control.
It could have been done, it should have been done, it's going to be done.
More than a year ago, we called Texas the paper tag nation as our reporting exposed how small car dealers illegally sold temporary paper license plates, often to people with cars that can't pass a state inspection. Now law enforcement officials tell us Texas is becoming the land of the fake inspection. Inspection stations passing cars for cash. And as we discovered, the state's own system was not set up to prevent cars that were never checked from ending up on the roads.
Rush hour traffic in the Big D. And some of the cars flying past you on the freeway may have big hidden safety problems. The numbers, according to one veteran investigator, are staggering.
How many cars are being fraudulently inspected?
I would say about between 4 and 5 million.
4 and 5 million?
Million, correct. They inspect it in a year.
And he says the state agencies that run the vehicle inspection program do little to stop the fake inspections as they happen.
You believe this system has left the door open for fraud?
Completely open.
Both garage doors have been closed since we arrived.
It's about 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning in January. Our camera is rolling outside of a small auto shop on East Illinois Avenue in Dallas. State records say this is the home of Upscale Inspections, one of thousands of small businesses licensed by the Texas Department of Public Safety to conduct state-required vehicle emissions and safety inspections. For an hour and 15 minutes, we watch outside.
We've got eyes on the location and both garage doors are closed.
We don't see any cars go in or out of the garage doors. But state emissions inspection records we obtained from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality show during that time we were sitting outside, Upscale inspected 23 vehicles.
What's happening at that station?
They're conducting fraud. That's the first thing, they're conducting fraud.
Sergeant Joe Escribano leads a team of Travis County investigators specializing in license plate and inspection fraud. He says if that small shop we watched was doing legitimate inspections, we would see lots of traffic.
You sit in front of a business for an hour, nothing moves. Impossible. They have to have a car go in there. An inspector has to have hands on that car.
Escribano says his team could see signs Upscale was faking inspections without even visiting the shop. His investigators have real-time access to the state's inspection data, and he says it shows other red flags suggesting Upscale was performing fraudulent inspections known as clean scans.
What does this mean, a clean scan?
Clean scan is a fake inspection.
Retired Dallas Sheriff's investigator John Doman used to investigate clean scanning as part of a special task force. He says some fraudulent inspection stations clean scan cars by plugging the analyzer used to check the emission system into another car that already passed inspection. Then they attach the passing result to a car that could not pass.
And now the way they're doing it, there's no car involved. It's just on a computer.
Today, experts say inspectors can cheat using a device that's sort of like a flash drive that simulates the car's onboard diagnostic system. That simulator can be programmed to guarantee a passing result. So the inspector plugs this emissions system analyzer into the simulator and not into the car. The fake passing result goes into the state system, and the car doesn't even have to be at the inspection shop.
But if the car isn't there, it doesn't get a state-required safety inspection either. That's where the inspector checks the brakes, the steering system, the tires, and other important safety items. None of this happens when a car is clean scanned.
Vehicle was never there. They never checked insurance on it. Nothing.
Once a car has a fake passing report, it can get a temporary license plate or regular metal plates and annual registration stickers.
How much money can one of these stations make doing fraudulent inspections?
They can make millions. Millions.
Investigators say clean scans are even sold via social media sites for about $100 to $500 a piece, often to people trying to avoid costly car repairs needed to pass a state inspection.
You believe these fake inspections are happening all day, every hour?
Right now. Right now.
Escribano says his team can see it in real time as inspections are entered into the TCEQ's inspection system. Investigators tell us that system captures numerous red flags for clean scans. We don't want to share details of all of those red flags here because that might help fraudsters evade law enforcement. But the most obvious one, Escribano says, is the sheer number of inspections entered by some stations. Remember Upscale on East Illinois, where the record showed 23 inspections in an hour and 15 minutes? That's about one car every 3 minutes. Escribano and legitimate inspectors we talked to say it's not possible to do them that fast.
That should be a total red flag to send that down the pike to somebody. But again, Scott, that's not in place.
In statements to us, the two agencies that manage the inspection program confirmed the computer system is not programmed to alert anyone when potentially fraudulent inspections are entered. The Department of Public Safety told us the TCEQ-owned database captures data that must be manually analyzed. There are no automated triggers, red flags, or thresholds built into the TCEQ-owned database. TCEQ also confirmed its system does not have a trigger that flags stations producing a high volume of inspections.
The system all day long is registering these fake inspections, but they're not stopping them as they happen?
Nope, they're not stopping them as they happen.
There's no activity outside of this place.
In January, our partners at Telemundo 39 went back to upscale inspection on a second day. Again, they saw no cars coming or going, but state records showed another 21 cars inspected during the hour and 10 minutes they were there. We contacted the Texas Department of Public Safety to ask about Upscale. 1 day later, DPS suspended Upscale's station license. A DPS report we obtained shows an audit of inspection data found Upscale conducting fraudulent inspections, clean scans, 882 clean scans as far back as early December, according to the data. Remember, we found Upscale still logging inspections more than a month later in January.
Why don't you shut them down when the inspector is entering the information on the analyzer? Why? I don't understand.
We wanted to ask TCEQ and DPS why they haven't programmed the system to flag and prevent fraud immediately. Both agencies declined requests for interviews. In a statement, TCEQ told us it has and will continue to work cooperatively with Texas DPS to help them enforce the rules. TCEQ repeatedly referred us back to DPS, saying it's their job to police inspections. DPS told us it conducted an operation during the fall of 2022, and the department took immediate revocation or suspension actions against over 270 stations suspected of fraud.
DPS is trying, but they're playing whack-a-mole. There's no way they can keep up with this mess. It falls all back again on the TCEQ and your leadership. Take action. Shut them down at the source.
We have some questions about inspections that Upscale performed.
We also tried to reach the man listed as the owner of Upscale Inspection by phone. Our messages were not returned, and when we visited the building, no one answered. Escribano says that shop is one tiny example. He points to another building on East Ledbetter in Dallas, where a company called Central Inspection Station once operated out of a single garage stall. TCEQ records show Central ran more than 89,000 inspections in 2021, more than any shop in the entire state.
At one point, that station's running 450 plus inspections a day.
A day, correct. Impossible. No.
Escribano says TCEQ records show clear evidence many of Central's inspections were fake. We could see some of those red flags ourselves in TCEQ data we obtained via DPS. We contacted the man listed as Central's owner.
You think somebody stole your ID and created that business?
He told us someone used his name and he never owned the shop. State records show DPS suspended the license of one inspector at Central for clean scanning hundreds of cars in 2019, but the records show DPS took no enforcement action against the station itself. The shop remained open, even though Escribano's group says the data suggests more clean scans occurred. It's not clear why Central eventually closed in 2022. By then, records show it had issued more than 265,000 inspection reports in just 3 years.
It makes no sense to me.
John Doman says he questioned the state years ago about why the system isn't built to immediately cut off suspect stations.
I don't know what their reasoning is when they know that these are false inspections.
You heard the Travis County investigators say they think 4 or 5 million vehicles are clean scanned each year. They say that number is based on an analysis they've done looking at the TCEQ data and assessing the percentage of inspections with visible red flags. We asked TCEQ how often they think fake inspections happen. They told us they can't provide a number. We've not been able to see all of the data ourselves. TCEQ says much of it cannot be made public, but we're still fighting to get access to more of that information. Well, coming up, some state lawmakers call for action as a result of what we found. Fake inspections, real license plates. Our NBC5 investigation has some state lawmakers asking questions about whether millions of Texas cars had fake safety inspections but still got real license plates. After we revealed the scope of the problem, 2 prominent North Texas lawmakers said they want answers from a state agency about why the inspection computer system does not immediately stop stations suspected of fraud from continuing to pass cars.
We as a state have to do something about it, and the sooner the better.
Reactions at the state capitol.
Why do we want cars on the road that are unsafe?
To what NBC5 Investigates first revealed last night. A group of Travis County law enforcement fraud investigators telling us they believe as many as 5 million Texas cars are clean scanned every year. That's a term for a fake inspection, where someone pays a state-licensed inspection station to manipulate an emissions test to guarantee a passing result, and to skip the state-required safety check of the brakes, tires, and other important items.
You believe these fake inspections are happening all day, every hour?
Right now.
Our reporting found the state's inspection computer system is not programmed to catch fake inspections and immediately stop them. State records we obtained show the system captures red flags for fraud in real time, but does not alert law enforcement, allowing some stations to keep passing cars despite those red flags for fraud.
They need to figure out exactly what type of software they need to put in place in order to be able to check it out and then respond accordingly. You can't respond a year later. You got to respond in real time to that.
State Senator Royce West promises to take up the issue with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, the agency that runs the inspection computer system. The TCEQ confirms its system is not currently programmed to automatically alert law enforcement when suspected fraudulent inspections are entered into the system. The agency told us it will continue to work cooperatively with Texas DPS to develop appropriate tools, functionality to weed out fraud. DPS enforces the state inspection rules. State Representative Craig Goldman says the time to act is now.
Thanks to you bringing this to our attention, I'm going to have that conversation with TCEQ and see how we fix that.
Some legitimate inspection stations are also fed up with fraud.
It's a huge problem. We see it every day. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Scott Morrison says his inspection stations often get complaints after they fail a car, and the driver then finds another station willing to pass it for a fee.
Our biggest frustration are these criminal operations that are literally just selling stickers.
Morrison is part of a state association of inspectors that believes good inspections keep families safe.
We've got to do that. We just don't need a bunch of vehicles on the road that can't pass a relatively simple inspection.
For Representative Goldman, fixing the inspection system is actually his second choice. He would prefer to scrap inspections completely, believing the responsibility for safe cars should fall on drivers, not the state. Now questions about widespread fraud only add to his doubts about the program.
Good people are going to get their cars inspected and, frankly, waste that time and waste that money to get them inspected versus the criminals out there that are going to gang the system.
As we dug deeper, we discovered evidence that some of those cars that may have had fake inspections have been involved in serious wrecks. In fact, we obtained a list of dozens of fatal crashes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, crashes involving cars some law enforcement officials say were not inspected and should have never been on the road, including some cars that on paper were inspected by a shop we shined a light on in our first report.
It's not fair that I lost my 2 kids. They didn't do anything wrong. They don't deserve that.
It's been almost a year since Eloisa Morales lost her teenage son and daughter, Andres and Crystal Pineda. On their way to get some food with friends in Dallas, a pickup truck hit them head on.
The suspect driving this maroon GMC pickup.
The driver of the truck fled. Police released this photo of the suspect. He's never been caught. Eloisa arrived at the crash scene to find paramedics putting her daughter in an ambulance.
And I was like, is she gonna be okay? And he was like, we're doing what we can.
Today, she still can't believe the 2 kids who made her laugh and smile are gone.
It's not getting easier, it's harder.
Now there are new questions about the truck that caused the crash. Law enforcement officials with a special vehicle fraud unit in Austin tell us they believe the truck did not have a valid state inspection. They say their own review of the state's emissions inspection database found red flags suggesting a fraudulent inspection occurred.
You believe the car was clean scanned?
That's correct. Shouldn't even been on the road.
Sergeant Joe Escribano's team of investigators has spent months analyzing data in the state's inspection system. They say their search turned up 85 fatal crashes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the last 2 years, where they see indications that a vehicle involved in the crash was clean scanned. That's a term for a fraudulent state inspection, where a business licensed to perform inspections takes cash in exchange for faking the emissions test and skips the safety check on the tires, brakes, and other essential items.
They pass it. Now I walk into the tax office with a vehicle inspection report that says that that piece of junk, that unsafe vehicle, just passed inspection.
The car can then get temporary paper tags or regular metal plates, even though it never really passed. Escribano says records show it happens thousands of times every day in Texas. And as we've reported, the 2 state agencies that run the vehicle inspection program tell us the inspection computer system is not programmed to prevent inspection stations from entering fake inspections. That allows cars to get license plates, even though Escribano says the state's own data shows clear evidence the inspections are faked.
This is state-sponsored. State-sponsored. They allow it. The state of Texas is allowing this.
Escribano's team provided NBC5 Investigates with the list of 85 crash report numbers where they believe a car involved falsely passed inspection. We then obtained copies of the accident reports, and using vehicle identification numbers in those reports, we were able to get state inspection records for those vehicles. We found 9 of the fatal crashes involved vehicles inspected by Central Inspection Station, a business once operated out of a garage stall in this building on East Ledbetter in Dallas. As we reported last week, on paper, this shop ran more state inspections than any other in the state in 2021. More than 89,000 in a single year.
Do you believe that station really inspected that many cars?
No, I do not. No, I do not. I do not. Nope, I do not.
In 2019, state records show DPS investigators found an inspector at Central clean scanned hundreds of cars. DPS suspended that inspector's license. But by 2021, records show that inspector is back at Central. And inspection records we obtained from the Department of Public Safety shows he conducted more inspections. Escribano's team says the state's data suggests Central continued clean scanning cars. But records show DPS took no enforcement action against the station. Central remained open until February 2022. It's not clear why it closed.
You think somebody stole your ID and created that business?
We contacted the man listed as Central's owner. He told us someone stole his information and used his name on the business records without his permission. By the time Central closed, it had issued inspection reports for more than 265,000 cars, including those 9 cars records show were later involved in fatal crashes.
Was the car the cause of it? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, that car never should have been there at all in the first place.
Crash reports for the 85 incidents Escribano's team identified show a variety of contributing factors, including speeding, even driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Only one of the crash reports clearly mentions equipment problems, a worn-out tire as a cause. But Escribano, who's also a trained accident investigator, says most police agencies rarely look for vehicle defects when there are other more obvious factors involved.
Do you know it for a fact that those cars did not have a mechanical problem? You don't.
Eloisa now wonders if the truck that crashed into her children had problems, or if it would have even been on the road if not for a false inspection, as the Travis County investigators suspect.
Thanks to that guy was able to get some car plates for his truck, not knowing if the car was good to be on the streets or not.
Dallas police tell us the driver was speeding and driving on the wrong side of the road, causing the crash. The department said in a statement it was not aware the truck had a fraudulent inspection. DPS records show the small shop that issued the inspection report on the truck eventually had its license suspended in September after DPS discovered data in the system showing that station conducted 2,100 clean scans in less than 3 months last year.
3 or 4 wouldn't be today.
Escribano says he's going public with the 85 fatal crashes, hoping the state agencies in charge of the inspection system will look deeper at whether fake inspections contribute to deaths.
Somebody's going to answer why I lost my family to a car that never even should have been there in the first place. I would ask that question.
And he hopes the state will tighten its system to prevent fraud and protect families. Coming up, NBC5 investigates digs for answers from the state agencies in charge of the inspection system. The promise one leader made as he answered our questions. Within hours of our first interview with the leader of the DPS, his department issued a statewide news release announcing a major crackdown on inspectors and stations suspected of fraudulent inspections. And in just weeks after that announcement, state troopers launched a sweep of inspection shops in the DFW area, making at least 5 arrests and locking more shops out of the system. Meanwhile, DPS Director Murrow sat down for another interview with us where he acknowledged a communication breakdown between his agency and the TCEQ has made the fake inspection problem worse.
I want to prevent them from doing it in the first place.
DPS Director Steve Murrow expressing frustration today with how a lack of technology to prevent fake inspections creates more work for his state troopers.
We've had multiple inspections being done there this morning, and the bay doors are closed.
We rode along with some of them deployed on a special mission in Dallas, trying to find some of the more than 700 vehicle inspectors DPS now believes are involved in passing cars in exchange for cash. At this location in Dallas, a dead end. Troopers find an inspection business that registered using this address is not really here, and neither is the emissions analyzer they suspect is being used to turn out fake inspections.
How challenging is it to find these folks when the business isn't operating where the business is supposed to be?
Well, that's why I talked about prevention on the front end, because if the business is not there, or the business is there but the inspector's not there, and he's off-site, there's no way to triangulate exactly where they're at. So it's very difficult from an enforcement standpoint.
As our reporting has shown, the state's inspection computer system, run by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, is not programmed to prevent an inspector from issuing a false passing report, even though the system captures data, red flags, suggesting many inspections are fake. In the weeks since we started asking questions, the TCEQ has activated a feature in the computer that at least locks out inspectors after they're suspected of running multiple fake inspections. NBC5 Investigates has learned from TCEQ officials that feature was created more than 10 years ago but never activated. TCEQ tells us DPS didn't ask them to turn it on until last month. DPS tells us it wasn't aware the feature existed.
Do you think more of this problem could have been headed off had those lockouts been put in place 10 years ago?
Yes, it could. Absolutely. There's no question about it.
So is it the problem here that we had two agencies that were kind of operating in silos for a period of time on this and not communicating about what was possible?
Well, the problem is it wasn't being done. It doesn't matter what two agencies, whether they're communicating or not, plain and simple. It could have been done. It should have been done. It's going to be done.
But in order to prevent inspectors from falsely passing cars in real time instead of after the fact, TCEQ tells us it would also have to modify the emissions analyzer software. In a statement, the agency told us until this change is made, these falsely inspected vehicles will still receive their inspection report at the end of the inspection, allowing the car to get Texas plates even though it never passed. McCraw wants that software changed now.
And the sooner they can do that, the better.
Seems like you're saying the real fix to this is in the hands of the TCEQ.
That's correct.
And you're going to hold their feet to the fire to make sure that happens.
I'm confident they want the same thing as we do. And I can assure you that, that both of us will be working towards that end.
There is breaking news in our ongoing investigation into fake vehicle inspections. Tonight, 2 Texas Department of Public Safety employees have been arrested. They're accused of taking cash in exchange for helping inspection stations is suspected of running fake vehicle emissions tests, falsely passing cars. Senior investigative reporter Scott Friedman has been investigating this problem in depth for months. Scott, what is the latest?
Well, tonight those DPS insiders are facing charges of engaging in organized criminal activity. This morning, DPS served a search warrant at a Dallas inspection station detaining 4 other suspects in that investigation. And tonight, DPS tells us this investigation is tied to an inspection station we have been asking questions about because state records show that station has cranked out a massive number of inspections.
A stunning development. Word that 2 employees inside the state's highest law enforcement agency are accused of helping inspection shops that are suspected of taking money in exchange for falsely passing vehicles during emissions and safety checks. DPS says its investigation began April 26th. The same day, NBC5 Investigates rode with DPS troopers as they conducted surveillance at a number of Dallas inspection stations. In a statement, DPS says during this operation, DPS arrested 5 people and subsequently learned that department employees provided information in exchange for monetary compensation from stations suspected of criminal activity to help them avoid detection. DPS tells NBC5 Investigates it arrested the 2 employees this morning and detained 4 other people after serving a warrant on a Dallas inspection station called Southside Inspection. It's a business we've been looking at for weeks. DPS records showed we should find Southside Inspection at 2719 Romine Avenue in Dallas.
It should be right here, but it's not. It looks like the address doesn't exist because this building actually has an address on the next street.
We double-checked that building in the parking lot. It's not an inspection shop, it's a snow cone stand where they didn't know anything about state inspections happening.
There's no Southside Inspections that's located here?
No, sir. One day in June, we sat nearby and watched that parking lot for an hour. We didn't see inspections happening either. But during that hour, state records show Southside reported inspecting 33 vehicles, about 1 every 2 minutes. The records show in less than 5 months, the shop has issued inspections for more than 56,000 cars. There were 55 days when Southside has cranked out more than 500 inspections in a single day. Law enforcement investigators tell us numbers like that are a red flag because they say it's not possible for a small shop to turn out legitimate inspections that fast. DPS says today it served a warrant on Southside Inspection at another address on Romine Avenue, but declined to release the address or the names of the people the agency said are detained and facing possible charges. For weeks, NBC5 Investigates has tried to reach the person listed in state records as Southside's owner. We couldn't get through on the phone number the company gave the state.
Just not accepting calls at this time.
Other messages we sent have not been returned.
Earlier this year, we reported a group of investigators in Travis County suspects as many as 5 million cars falsely pass inspection each year at shops that take cash under the table. Tonight, DPS is vowing to continue cracking down on the fraud. As for the arrest of its own employees, the agency said in a statement it strives to maintain the highest level of integrity among its employees and will pursue prosecution for those engaging in any type of criminal activity. This is an ongoing investigation and further arrests and/or charges are expected. Scott Friedman, NBC5 Investigates.